Good evening. I'm speaking to Dr. Whitney Rosenberg, who's a senior lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. She's also the president and co-founder of Baby Savers, and I'm going to introduce her and ask her to explain what Baby Savers is. Whitney, thanks for joining me on this video. Explain what Baby Savers is.
Thank you so much for having me, Errol. Baby Savers South Africa is a national coalition of organizations that have Baby Savers, which is a box in a wall of a charitable institution. So they have these savers installed. We basically advise our members on how to run these savers when a baby is received through a saver and how to follow all of the legislative processes.
Okay, wonderful. So this is something that is desperately needed in South Africa, because you sent me a PowerPoint presentation that showed how many babies, newborn babies, infants are being abandoned in South Africa in drains, in bins, and all kinds of terrible things. But you argue that we have laws on our statute books that punish and prosecute women for concealing births and abandoning babies in all these places, but we don't have anything to prevent it. Just explain that.
Yes, so sadly, we've got 3,500 babies that are abandoned annually in South Africa, and these are only the babies we know of. The rate of abandonment is so high because of the leading causes, such as teenage pregnancies, such as gender-based violence, rape, forced prostitution, and the list goes on. So this is why we have so many abandonments. We also know that out of every 3 children that are abandoned in South Africa, only 2 are found alive. And we know that the only possibility for these desperate women is for our legislature to enact something such as legalizing baby savers to allow them a safe method of relinquishment.
Are you saying then that Baby Savers, there's baskets and these places that receive babies that mothers desperately want to sort of abandon? So this is illegal at the moment? There's no legislation to cover this? Is this what you're saying?
So in South Africa, we have the crime of child abandonment. So child abandonment as a whole is seen as illegal, but the actual baby saver is not dealt with in the Children's Act. However, because of child abandonment, we do assume that that too is illegal then.
Oh, wow. So then your solution then is to have new legislation passed in Parliament, or perhaps even the Children's Act, an amendment to make these baby savers a legal thing, so that more and more organizations can have these places of where they can receive babies when desperate mothers want to abandon them?
Yes, so in 2022, we presented to Parliament to include a provision on the legalization of baby savers in the Children's Amendment Bill. And we do believe that this is a solution for mothers who find themselves in desperate situations. Currently, the law is purely reactive and not preventative, so it doesn't cater for women who find themselves in these desperate situations. Also, we only have 37 pregnancy counseling centers in the whole of South Africa.
Okay. Whitney, do you believe that this would bring down the rate of abandonment in South Africa if this legislation is passed?
I believe that it would reduce the number of infant deaths as a result of abandonment. And that's our aim, is really to ensure the child's right to life, the child's right to human dignity. And we believe that a baby saver is in the best interest of a child.
Yeah, and that right to life is in our Constitution. It covers all those things: the child's right to life, the child's right to dignity, the child's right to care is all in our Constitution, but it's obviously not in legislation that is helping to prevent these kind of abandonments, because babies are dying in some of the most cruel and inhumane ways, being abandoned in fields, open fields, in drains, in toilets, and we don't really have any way of preventing that. We have ways of punishing that, but that's after the crime. And your argument is we need legislation to prevent that, right?
Yes, absolutely. We speak about prevention, and we've noticed that the department has focused more on punishing the mother. And our aim is to protect the child's right to life and to prevent unsafe infant abandonment.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think most people watching this would agree that prevention is better than babies dying and then punishing the mother thereafter. If we can prevent as many of this, it would obviously be a great help. So Whitney, how does the public help in this? I mean, one of the ideas that just come to my mind as I'm speaking to you is to get the public to write to the Minister of Social Development to put pressure on them to say, look, we recognize this is a growing problem, a growing scourge in South Africa, and it's the right of government and the public, everybody involved here, is to prevent the deaths of innocent born children, unborn and born. And we don't have legislation in place. Demand and ask government to either amend existing legislation or table new legislation that is going to prevent this and help the Baby Savers organization, because you say you're an advisory body to organizations that want to kind of set up something to help receive babies that moms want to abandon.
Yes, so I do appeal to the public to please write to the Minister of Social Development to make their voices heard. We do need this. In Gauteng at the moment, Baby Savers have been, we've been threatened to be closed down by the Department of Social Development for Gauteng. So I do urge the public to please let their voices be heard and write to the Minister and tell her about the need that we have for this type of legislation in South Africa.
Sorry, you said the Gauteng Department of Social Development has threatened to close you down, Baby Savers in Gauteng.
Yes.
Why would they do that if you're providing a service to help save babies that's being abandoned?
We had a meeting with the new provincial head of the Gauteng Department of Social Development, and we were told in the meeting that there is room for us to work together. Unfortunately, after the meeting, they signed a directive to say that we must close down. Otherwise, they've threatened legal action. And this is on the basis that it is believed that a baby saver does not guarantee a child's right to know who their family is. And it's also believed that the mother then goes unpunished and she gets away without having to care for her child. And we have responded to that and said that we do believe that because out of every 3 children abandoned, 2 die, that a child who dies also does not know their origins, and that we are preventing the death of these children. We also believe that it does not encourage abandonment, and that the department should be focusing more on protecting the child's right to life as opposed to punishing the mother.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Look, if we just consider the high rates of unemployment and poverty in South Africa, this is an ongoing problem. Unless government can change those issues, you're not going to reduce the abandonment of babies. So that is a reality. So I agree with you that we need prevention rather than just having babies abandoned and then trying to go after the mother to kind of prosecute it, because we're having all these dead babies lying around in South Africa and nobody's doing much about that. So I think Baby Savers is a great idea. And so, Whitney, I think I'm going to put some details on the screen and ask the public to write to the Department of Social Development, the Minister of Social Development, and also the head of the department in Gauteng to reconsider and to help Baby Savers to provide this service so that mothers can, desperate mothers, they're going to abandon these babies anyway. But to put these babies in a safe place, I think, is what we would all want, so the babies can be taken care of, and maybe later on consult later with the mother, or even put up adoption. But just allowing babies to be abandoned and dying in fields and in drains and all these kind of things, this is inhumane. It's not what we should be tolerating in this country. So I want to thank you for the work you're doing, Dr. Whitney Rosenberg, and keep on keeping on, and we're going to get the public behind you to support you in this quest.
Thank you very much, Errol, and thank you for your viewers.
Right, there you go. Please write to the Minister of Social Development, Ms. Lindiwe Zulu, at judyb@dsd.gov.za. She's the Ministerial Secretary to the Minister, and politely request that the Minister urgently intervene in the Baby Saver Safe Haven service issue to help save the lives of the most defenseless and vulnerable members of our society.